lucky listeners. Yes, it's another great episode of NH Unscripted. We know that we are your rock and roll lullaby, and that makes me your BJ Thomas-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the YMCA-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. Yep, got my Nehru jacket on, my bell-bottom pants, and my platform shoes. If you want to be cool like me, that's what you should look like. Yeah, you know the drill. Come on, break out those transistor radios. I got the 8 transistor. The rich kids got the 16, but I'm not jealous. Put in your earplug, I think that's what we used to call it. Turn that thing over to 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord, or for the beautiful souls in Manchester, 101.9 FM down there. Our URL, of course, is nhtalkradio.com. I'll tell you a little bit more about what's going on out there later. I need to thank my sponsor, Lakes Region Fence. LRFence.com is their URL. It's heading into the cold weather. If you're thinking of doing anything, LRFence.com is the place you want to go. There's a button. Go out there, you click that little thing. Matt will get in touch with you. Come out, give you a free estimate. LRFence.com. We appreciate Lakes Region Fence so much for sponsoring the show. Okay, this is a special episode. You know, I've often said I'm getting a little bit older. I think a lot of people knew that. And so things like memory, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, those things tend to be on my mind. Because, you know, we're in radio. A lot of us here do theater. Some of us do commercials. Once in a while, we do some film. Our memories are important. Our brains are important. And so for a few years, I've been on the hunt for things to help out my brain power. You know, adaptogens, nootropics, racetams, things that just can help the brain function better. Neurons fire, synapses just light up. And so I did some research, and I found a company called Cutting Edge. I think they're called Cutting Edge. I think they're testosterone replacement therapy, CRT, something like that. But that's not all they do, and that's why we have today's show. I went out and talked to them. There's Judith and Tom Casey. They own the business. They do a lot of things out there, and so one of the things I wanted to talk to them about was peptides, and we're going to get into that a little bit. And so the things that we need to see are going to be in this. They're going to address it. All right. Why you started this? Give me a little history. Are you licensed for all? I mean, obviously there are licenses involved, but go ahead. Give me your history.
Yeah. So I was working for the Essex County Sheriff's Department, and Judy was in primary care, and she was teaching at 2 colleges, teaching nurses. And I had a surgery and was out. I had a rotator cuff surgery, so I was home. And I'd been in law enforcement in corrections for 26 years. And she goes, well, I kind of like you being home because you're never home before. You're always doing overtime.
Okay, first of all, my wife does not say she likes me being home. So That's fascinating.
Yeah. So, I'm doing something right, I suppose. She said, well, I got an idea. Why don't we start a clinic? And she was educating herself online, and then she joined a group called Elite NP, and they offer training and things like that. And so we were just doing the classes on there, and I had been in a TRT clinic years before, and I didn't like how it went. It's very expensive, and they take a lot of your money up front and that sort of thing. I just got a bad. I just didn't like it. So, and to be totally honest, I had U Street gear back in the day. I was into powerlifting and strongman competition. So, anyways, I'm home, rotator cuff surgery, and I was also a life coach at the time, accountability coach for I Am a Comeback. And so I was into working out, and I was training very, very, very wealthy people.
How long ago was all this? This
is in 2019 into 2020.
Okay.
2020. So we...
COVID time.
COVID, yeah, add that on there. So I said, yeah, let's do it. And then, so Judy got the DEA license.
So I already had all
you already had all that, so you were good. But we had the... Yeah, we had to get in contact with pharmacies, compounding pharmacies. We had no idea how that worked. Even like a credit card machine, how does that work? How do we do orders and that sort of thing?
Either of you had a business before this?
No.
Okay.
No, nothing. No, I was a public employee. And Judy worked for hospitals and different places. So, so we found a spot on Liberty Street. It was a little office, had a sliding door. There was me, and I greet people, and then there's Judy in her office, and we had some friends. We ran them through the processes, doing lab work with LabCorp, and then shipping products and ordering and stuff, and then she was doing evaluations on them and that sort of thing. And then so we started getting correctional officers in, and law enforcement, just friends we had. Connections. Yeah, connection. Yeah, and that's how we started, and the word spread.
So your first, I don't want to call it a product, but your first, so how do you're sitting at home, and you decide you want to start a business.
Yes.
So how did you target what service you wanted to provide first? How did you find that way to, because, I mean, why weren't you doing like apple pie instead of,
landscaping.
Yeah, right.
So like Tom said, it was great having him home because our youngest, she was taking her to school and I could work extra hours. And I was doing all these extra things like teaching, things that I love to do. And when we started talking about a business, I'm like, we need to find something that we can utilize both our strengths. As a medical provider, obviously I have that background. Tom has a master's degree. He's great with communicating with people. He knows a lot of people. He had the history of testosterone replacement. And when I started doing we started doing a little bit more research, we found that, there weren't any locations next to us. So it was an underserved area. And then when we talked about it, I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? And, his eyes are like, wow, really? Let's do testosterone. Right. Testosterone replacement. And, we obviously you do your homework and you find out what people like, don't like. And then when, I did some more research online, I found that there was some more education I could get into because having been in primary care, I did do hormone therapy for my patients, which wasn't common. And then we just took it to the next level. We said, okay, we started making a plan. It gets complicated because you need pharmacies, but you can't have a pharmacy because you need to have a building. So we had to find a place. So then you're like, okay, we got to go find a place to rent, something that's going to be inexpensive to start because you don't know how this is going to take off or not. And then it just evolved from there. It'll be 4 years this November. And, we start, like he said, we put people that we knew, we were like, hey, we need to start this process. We need to see if there's, what we can fix or not fix, what's working, what's not working. And then we spent very little money on advertisement because we found that what we were doing right. We're a mom and pop. People would deal with us. They weren't dealing with a chat bot or computer. They knew that they could walk into the office. They're dealing with a medical provider. They weren't dealing with somebody on the phone going, oh, yeah, they're good, that sort of thing. So then it continued to grow. We had an expectation, maybe we'll have 100 or 200 patients, by the end of the year. And then the next thing you know, we're hitting thousands, So but we work. We work on, when we first started, 7 days a week for a year and a half straight. We're a good team, and we joke because we're like, when we tell people, I liked having him home. I did. I like my husband. Yeah, he does a few things right.
What? We have about a minute in this segment left. Why don't you give us your contact information for people who might, because I don't want to forget later. So website, services, phone number, whatever you put up.
So our website is cuttingedgetestosteronetherapy.com. Our phone number is 603-232-9070. You can call the office. We have staff available that will help you through the process. If you're not familiar and you want to familiarize yourself with some of the services, you go to the website. We have a list on there. You can also fill out a patient form that filters into the office, and someone from the office will call you.
Nice. So your website is fascinating to me because the services that are listed, and I want to ask you a little bit in just a second about how you decided to expand into some of these, because some of them are pretty cutting edge. I mean, not that TRT is not, but it's been around for a long time, as opposed to some of this other stuff. All right.
Do you need a tissue?
I'm good, thanks. Ooh, we gotta put a pin in it right there. We are just getting started. I really do hope you're enjoying what you're listening to. This is cutting edge stuff. I mean it. You are listening to NH Unscripted. We are coming to you from the Car 54-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord, 1450 AM, 103.9 FM on your transistor radios. For you beautiful folks in Manchester, 101.9 FM. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. We have more to discuss. We will be right back. Welcome back to NH Unscripted, where we are dropping in to see what condition our condition is in. I'm your first edition-like host, Ray Dudley. You are listening to us 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord, or 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. And we are talking peptides. We're talking IV therapy. We're talking Morpheus 8, which is radio frequency treatment. Cutting edge technologies down in Manchester. I spent some time talking to them. I hope you're enjoying what's going on down there. So tell me how things were going good. You're doing TRT. Well, first of all, you get any pushback from the state? You're into areas that not a lot of people are familiar with. I think a lot of things like the peptide. I had no idea about the radio frequency stuff, but You're into areas that I think the general public is kind of waking up to when they hear about Ozempic and semaglutide, that kind of stuff. So because you're first-ish out there in the market, are you getting any pushback from the state on why you're doing certain things, or are they...
No, we haven't, other than paying a lot of tax, but that's a whole other story.
Oh, there's the radio show down the tube. Thanks. Live for your dog.
No, in all seriousness, again, we do the right thing, and, I'm licensed in multiple states, hold the appropriate licenses, and, I've worked with the pharmacies, so we stay within regulation, right? When we do the process, we're getting labs, people need to be seen in person. So we're following the rules. And that's important because there could be changes in regulation down the road through the federal government. But for us, we've been doing it the correct way from the get-go. So knowing that if those changes do come down the pike, we're already doing it the way that they want it to be done. We use Board of Pharmacy regulated compounding pharmacies. I vetted those myself. I would use the products.
Are they local?
Most of them are out of Florida. Florida state is a big state, if you will, obviously. But they use compounding pharmacies. TRT clinics, HRT clinics are probably like a Dunkin' Donuts down there. They're very common. So the pharmacies that we use have been around for a long time. They have good reputations. They follow their Board of Pharmacy rules. They have quality product. There have been a few pharmacies that I've looked at bringing on, and I decided I didn't like what they stood for, or some of the reviews, or some of their inspection results. So I didn't bring them on. So we try to keep everything above par to avoid issues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the reps kind of walked us through the business.
Yeah.
This guy from James Antoine, and we're kind of friends with him now. I mean, he started us off. He was at South Lake Pharmacy, and he brought us up in the business, really. He showed us what to do and how to do this and that and how you want to do this and that. And we trust him. He's part of our team, really.
Yeah.
And he works for a couple pharmacies now.
Local as well? Or
no, he's down in Florida.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I think they got a couple in New Hampshire. We just haven't, I don't know. I don't know what they're all about. We had someone come by one time. I didn't talk to them that long, but it just seems they get a lot of, they can produce a lot more down there. And they're big.
Down there we all need the geriatric TRT.
Yeah. They're all in Texas and Florida. So
big business with us older folks. So let's cover your services. Why don't you list what your services are, and then I'll get into a little more questions for you.
Okay, so obviously, as the name states, we do testosterone replacement therapy. That covers both men and women, as believe it or not, women do have testosterone. We do weight loss. Some of the products that we offer for weight loss include semaglutide and tirzepatide. We can't call them by those brand names, so obviously because they're compounding pharmacies. We offer vitamin injections. So we have vitamin injections that are going to help with immunity, to help with energy. You get vitamin D. So we brought those in. We do a lot of vitamin injections because they're quicker for people to come in versus an IV we have IV therapy available for our clients. But they're here a little longer when they want an IV. So again, it's much easier if someone's got 5-10 minutes to come in and get a vitamin injection. We do some aesthetics. Again, the services that we offer in the aesthetic portion are to support the clients that we have.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
So basically, because people are now feeling better because their hormones are better, they want to look better. So maybe I've had a lot of male clients who come in for Botox or Dysport. Just because they feel comfortable and they know that it's private, they can come in, they get their injections, they have a trust that we've built, and they come in, they get their product. Obviously, they'll bring their spouse or significant other in, they'll do it too. We do so it's called a Morpheus 8 machine, which is a thermal radio frequency microneedling machine. That sounds really great. Yeah, it sure is. But it works. It's thermal that causes basically trauma to the skin, which produces collagen so it can tighten the skin. It helps with wrinkles.
Is it different than infrared? I don't mean to.
Yeah, it is different. It's different. Yeah. And so we've had a lot of people that have chosen that because maybe they've lost weight from the weight loss. And so now they just need a little firming. So they'll do the Morpheus. We have a couple other products that we're probably going to bring in to be more supportive. We just hired some more staff to help with that, but things that may also help with hair growth or hair removal, skin concerns, whether it's acne, that sort of thing. We do peptide therapy. How could I forget that? That's a big one.
That's why I'm here.
So peptides, there's so many of them. And again, when we talk about, our rep who was very helpful in the beginning, who's gave us a lot of information and was always available for question and answer type situations. Actually, their big pharmacy just started a sister pharmacy that was invite only. We actually were invited to be a client in that pharmacy because we've been growing and they know we do things right.
Interesting. Okay, so what would you say, or what do you have certain services which you're finding are highly requested that more often than others, or is everything just pretty much across the board fairly equal?
Yeah, testosterone replacement obviously is still our highest. But weight loss is right there with it. And we'll find a lot of people will start with one or the other and incorporate the second. So, which has been very positive because here they get the education about if they're going to start the semaglutide or tirzepatide. There's certain strategies that I recommend for these patients so they avoid most of the side effects. I think a lot of the side effects can be reduced or prevented by doing certain things. And we go over all that in a visit.
We could do a show on that and we always got people who volunteer.
Yeah, well, so we have 2 minutes in this segment. So, that's what I wanted to really, not just that, but the fact that these are things like peptides, the radio frequency. Botox has been around for, ever. So these are things I'm like, wait, what's going on down there? What radio frequency? I had never heard of it. I've heard of infrared for a lot of stuff. But peptides, that was fairly new to me. I'm sure a lot of people have never heard of them. They don't realize that, like, insulin is a peptide, right?
That's correct.
So, how did you decide to go that way? So you start off with TRT. What was it? The pharmacy gentleman who said to you, you might want to look into these other...
That and I had messed around with some before, due to different injuries and how to heal quicker and that sort of thing. I did my own research and wanted to heal faster. I was getting older and I had a torn tricep one time. I did it at Essex County, wanted to heal that quicker. BPC, Thymosa Beta 500. All day, that stuff.
I hear it's a great combination.
Yep. My rotator cuff, I had my bicep reattached a couple of years ago, and that was like, and the surgeon was like, what? You're 50-something years old. Why is that healing? And I told him, I said, you should be promoting this stuff. And he didn't really know what they were. I'm
shocked.
Yeah. So, and then we just heard more about it from the reps and what they do and how we can get them. And then we started, and people, before they come here, a lot of them just do their own research.
Yeah.
And then, so they kind of know what they're asking for.
Ooh, baby, the time flies by. I don't know if you knew this. Here's a little tip for you. There are over 7,000 different peptides in the human body. Yep. We need them all. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord is where you are listening to us. That's NH Unscripted. 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. We're only halfway through everything that Cutting Edge is doing down there in Manchester, but we'll be right back and try to stuff in some more info. Hang on. Welcome back to the third segment of this episode of NH Unscripted, where we just can't get our picture on the cover of the Rolling Stone. I am your Dr. Hook-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Hollywood Squares like digs of the WKXL studios, 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls of Manchester, and HTalkRadio.com is our URL. Judith Casey and Tom Casey down at Cutting Edge Technologies, TRT and other things. Dude, they have an IV therapy that they give you. If you've got chronic fatigue, illness, I'm telling you, anti-aging, immunity boost, jet lag, IV therapy. All right, don't believe me? Take it, you can hear from them themselves. So, in my email to you, one of the things I said was that, obviously, like many people, I'm aging. Mm-hmm. And so part of my business is I do theater, do some commercials, and obviously the radio show. And so it's extremely important for me to protect my mind, to keep memory and all that stuff. So I went on this hunt for nootropics and peptides, and have been using a lot of different ones, paracetam, a lot of racetam, Flupept, and all that kind of stuff. And so I wanted to ask you, I guess, for someone like myself or people who in the demographic that would be listening to this, they're concerned about aging and their mental health. Where would you go from there? What would you offer in your services?
So it comes down to, basically we'd look at where they are in life and what their main goals. I know we talk about like muscle wasting is a big thing. Trying to prevent disease. So if someone is just starting out, I may start them and look at something like Samorlin or CJC with an ipamorelin blend. So basically what those two peptides do, or the combination of CJCs with an ipamorelin, is they target what's called an IGF-1 score. So an IGF-1 score is like an RMRF growth hormone. If that level is not optimal, people may be experiencing muscle wasting, loss of strength. So the recovery is not good. They may be gaining, some body fat. Maybe their sleep's off, or they're noticing changes in their skin that they don't like, or their overall well-being. So we talked about brain function, that sort of thing. So we start there because those two peptides target the IGF-1, which will help if it's increased or optimal, will help reduce or reverse those symptoms. So people they have the ability, they feel stronger. They have better muscle tone. They're decreasing body fat. These peptides can decrease inflammation, which is going to be huge for people as far as pain management, that sort of thing. They promote healing. Your overall well-being is better. Your brain is more sharp or crisp. Most of these peptides you take before bed, so there's some improvement in your sleep. Most of them are an injection using an insulin-type needle. Usually you do 5 of 7 nights because what you're trying to do is cycle within a cycle so that your body doesn't get acclimated to you taking those. Why would one use Samorlin over CJC? Comes down to, someone who wants a quicker result, they may do the CJC because it's in and out of your system, maybe 8 to 10 hours. So you're going to start feeling the benefits within like 3 weeks. Samorlin takes longer, but again, at some point, they start having very similar results. The ipamorelin that's part of the CJC is like the anti-aging of the peptides. It helps with collagen synthesis. It helps with hair growth, nail growth, helps with sex drive. You just feel better. It helps with sleep. So all those are important because as we get older, we start to see decline in that. Mm-hmm. People will come here, they'll say, maybe I want to try a tesamorelin or an IGF-1, but they want to lose weight. So I don't recommend those off the bat because the Samorlin and the CJC are not going to have the same cortisol and insulin spikes that some of the longer acting ones could.
So I jumped the shark here a little bit. I want to just back up for people who don't know what peptides are.
Okay. Yep.
Why don't you give us a definition of what peptides are, how they get into the body,
yep.
Both naturally and what happens here, and then we can kind of get into more about the different ones that you've just mentioned.
Sure. So peptides are amino acids. They're protein chains. Okay. So by introducing some specific chains, if you will, like the Samorlin has, I can't remember off the top of my head how many protein chains that it contains. It's a certain like naming of them, right? A protein chain that's going to target a certain thing. We talk about the IGF-1 score.
Right.
And I lost my train of thought. You asked me another
I just wanted a definition.
Yeah, so the protein chains. Well,
there's many, right?
There's a ton. Like growth hormone is a peptide. Like you mentioned before, insulin's a peptide. It just HGH, growth hormone, is going to be like your cream of the crop, if you will, but it targets all the organ systems. So you got to be careful with that, and dosing is like a control mechanism. So when you're trying to target or do specific things, that's when we start looking at these other peptides. So if we want to heal or we want to improve strength and recovery, it kind of directs us where and which one we choose.
So you offer, depending on what the client is here for, so injury, we talked about that, weight loss. We brought that up, and we can get into that a little bit more if you want. But so you can target certain things using peptides, which are natural, right there.
Yep.
We have all of that. And so what other reasons would a person come to you looking for a peptide? And I want to talk to you in a second about stacking them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why would they come? So we talk about healing.
Yep.
That's a big one. So if I like it when I'm able to get someone who's just going into surgery. That sounds pretty terrible when I say that, but it allows me to get ahead of the healing process before they have the surgery, because that kind of directs how we're going to do the protocol. If someone's just had surgery, then again, we're going to play catch up. But again, the peptides will work. So I'll know to direct towards, like we talked about before, TB5 with a BPC. We could even use some of the other peptides. It just depends on what they're having for surgery, what their injury is, that sort of thing. If someone wants to do a prophylactic approach, so like, I've been working out really hard, or I just ran a marathon, or, we have some people that run, mountains, and they're like, I'm just concerned that I might be injured, or I want to prevent injury. So again, we can use it as a prophylactic approach. We have people who have sleep issues. So
huge.
Yeah, so that's huge.
And weight loss.
And they don't want to take, a prescription. So these are prescription. They're for human consumption. There are peptides that can promote sleep. They have muscle wasting. We're looking at that. They want to increase their strength, their recovery. We have peptides that can help with, for like, say, inflammation, like Lyme disease, or like looking at Parkinson's. So there's a thymosin alpha-1 that's supposed to help with decreased inflammation that has some really good results. Oh, we just have so many, and then sometimes people don't want to inject. So we have a couple that we can do by mouth orally.
Capsules.
Capsules.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Are all the injections done here, or are these things that people can do at home?
No, so patients will receive their prescription. Mm-hmm. Most of them need to be reconstituted, and they inject at home. What we do offer is when they get their kit, and if they're not familiar with injecting, they're welcome to bring their product to us, and we walk them through how to do an injection. So that bacteriostatic water, correct. Yeah. Yep. So we walk them through, because what we don't want people to do is get their product and it's kind of like getting that treadmill. I have great intentions and I get it. Next thing you know, I'm having clothes on it. We want them to succeed. That's the biggest thing. We want people to get to the next level. And if that means them coming in and us walking them through an injection a couple of times, then that's going to happen.
Where does the time go? Mother of God. All right, we're only going to have one more block. We've been chatting with Cutting Edge Technologies down in Manchester. You have been listening to it either on 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord, or maybe 101.9 FM in Manchester. NH Talk Radio is our URL, nhtalkradio.com. Last block coming up. We're going to try to jam in as much as we can. We'll be right back. Welcome back to NH Unscripted, where we are happy together. I am your Turtles-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Fantasy Island-like digs of the WKXL studios. Keep it in! Keep it in! I went down and talked with the folks at Cutting Edge Testosterone Therapy down in Manchester because I had questions about their technologies, the things they're doing down there. I'm telling you, Cutting Edge is the perfect title. I don't know how they came up with it. Well, maybe it's because they're on the cutting edge. Who knows? But anyway, one segment to go. They got a ton of information. They're Manchester, right down the street from you.
Let's talk about weight loss because it's on everybody's mind. The American diet is absolutely terrible. Shame on them. Shame on the government. Yes, I said it. So anyway, so weight loss is a huge problem. It's huge. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm almost 70 and I fight like a dog to lose a pound. I mean, an hour a day on treadmill or the elliptical or whatever, plus weight, plus counting calories. And I'm sure I'm not the only one in America doing that. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about, obviously, weight loss. People come to you for that. And you're going to talk to them about peptides.
Correct.
So why peptides as opposed to just go out and run? And what is the protocol for that? And then we can get into what people are doing wrong about it.
Yeah, so people come in and, it's one of those things. Sometimes people call and they know they want to do semaglutide or they want to do tirzepatide. But then you have the person who walks in the door and you're looking at them and you're like, okay, maybe you have maybe 8 pounds to lose. So when we talk about peptides, tirzepatide and semaglutide are considered peptides. Semaglutide is what they call a GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide. Tirzepatide, also a GLP-1 plus a GIP. So again, it depends on the person, what's going on at the time. So if someone comes in and they're like, listen, I got 30, 40 pounds to lose. I've tried everything. We're going to look at
everyone.
Which is everyone. Mm-hmm. But what I have found, too, is that as people get older, they become insulin resistant. There's a lot of fad dieting. Okay, so this is an oversimplification of what I see to be one of the issues is people will do fad diets, and I hate calling them diets, but that's what they are. Yeah. Say their metabolic rate is used to 2,000 calories a day. So now they go on this fad diet, which is, eat grapefruits all day and cottage cheese. Basically, they're taking in, 800 calories a day. Well, after a while, the body is hungry. It starts to take from muscle. So they start losing their muscle tone, okay? Because the body's like, I need some protein. So we go back to protein, right? So then they get off their fad diet. Maybe they lost 10, 15 pounds. But what they haven't taken into consideration, their metabolic rate has changed because they just lost, and again, it's oversimplification, but it's just so people can kind of get an understanding. Maybe instead of 2,000 calories a day that they used to require, they only need 1,500 because they've lost that amount of muscle. But they're not taking that into consideration. They go back to the 2,000, the weight goes on that they lost, and then some. So it's a vicious cycle that I see. So what we try to do here is keep it simple. A long time ago, a pediatrician doctor said to me, it's called KISS. Keep it simple, sweetheart. Because it doesn't have to be complicated. Basically, what we want to do is look at what people are eating and kind of shift their plate around. Get more protein in the diet, unless they have a reason why they can't. Monitor the carbs. In other words, measure the carbs. Because people, like anybody else, we scoop rice into our plate. I think it's like a half a cup of rice as a serving, but we're probably having 3 servings when we're putting it in our plate. So there's a lot of carbs, there's a lot of calories there. So now we're going to be more conscientious of what we're eating. We're going to focus on the protein, get some fruits and vegetables, and then our carbs in. Water's huge. I'll often ask people, how much water are you drinking a day? And they're like, a lot. I'm like, tell me what a lot is. And they'll say, I don't know, maybe 2 glasses, 3 glasses. Way under. Minimum of 64 ounces. Again, unless someone, has
a gallon, right?
Yeah, unless someone has a reason why they can't drink that water, right? And then, getting them to do their protein. Obviously, the water, fiber is huge because we want to make sure the system keeps moving. And I call it physical activity. Because if I call it exercise, sometimes people squirm in their chair. Physical activity could be mowing your lawn. It could be going for a walk with a dog. It doesn't always mean you have to go to the gym, but you need to move your body above and beyond its normal day, okay? Because what we want to do now is establish behaviors that are going to help you to succeed while you're taking this medication. Because ultimately, if we can kind of fix or modify what you were doing wrong or not 100% correct, right? Then we can hopefully taper you off the medication. And most people either can come off or they do a very low maintenance dose because maybe they were insulin resistant and they were running that cusp of being pre-diabetic.
So where does the peptide fit in? If they go ahead and they modify their diet, they start exercising a bit, where does semaglutide, what's the purpose of it then?
It can help regulate your insulin. It slows gastric emptying so you're full faster. And they're actually doing studies now for addiction that it's how it has the effect on the brain to take away like that food noise. We've also had some clients who were heavy drinkers who now don't even want to drink alcohol after being on the medication because of the effect it's had.
Would you say it's an appetite suppressant? Or is
it's more, again, because it's the way it affects the body in slowing down the body, the gas. So you're not. So someone who might have IBS, right? Their system's fast. They eat something, it goes through them really quick. This is going to slow things down. So people who have had IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, find that the semaglutide has actually helped control that because now their system's a little bit slower. So appetite suppressant, not so much as it gets you to the point that your system is going to take a little bit longer to digest. So instead of shoveling in your food, you're going to be more conscientious of, okay, at some point I'm going to feel really full. I got to stop it here. So it helps you to get that mental strength back and realize what you're actually eating.
So I've heard of issues by the mainstream press about issues with semaglutide and that it's causing all these problems with people. What's really going on there?
You know, as a medical professional, you don't want to point fingers or that sort of thing. Yeah, okay.
I'm here to point the finger.
I think it comes down to education. Okay, it comes down to educating the client. When people come here, I tell them, I don't want you starving yourself. Part of the reason why people are being told they have skinny fat or they have fatigue is I've had people transfer from other places, and I won't go into details what kind of place, who were taking the medication. And then when I start going through my typical spiel, I'll be like, all right, what are you eating? And they look at me like, nothing. I'm like, what do you mean you're not eating anything? I've had one person told me that she has basically one meal a day, if she's lucky, a piece of pizza or something small. And I'm like, okay. So now I said, we got to work on that. So now we got to add back calories slowly because obviously the person wants to keep the weight off. But now we got to play catch up because she's starving herself.
Yeah.
So that's part of the issue.
It's not even a basic amount to exist.
No.
You're not going to be able to get out of bed on a slice of pizza.
No. And I think that's part of the issue, is the education, is that we have to be more aware as providers that if we're prescribing this, we need to make sure people know, if you start dropping your calories below a certain point, you need to back off the medication. But I think people are so excited about losing that weight that kind of goes out the window. So again, it's that monitoring.
Okay. Dang it. It's so many questions. This is the end. Why don't you give me your contact information one more time?
So our name is Cutting Edge Testosterone Therapy. Our website is cuttingedgestestosteronetherapy.com. And our main number is 603-232-9070.
Radio frequency treatments. Huh? Who'd have thunk of that? Radio frequency. Peptides. Are you kidding me? Most of us have never heard of any of that stuff. Anyways, thank you for listening to NH Unscripted, another blockbuster episode. You have been listening to us either at 1450 AM or 103.9 FM in Concord, the beautiful souls in Manchester, 101.9 FM. NHTalkRadio.com is the URL where you can find archives of this show and all of the other great stuff, the programs that take place here. Thank you to Cutting Edge Testosterone Therapy for their information. I'm going to be talking to them some more at another date because I got a lot of questions. We will see you on the next one. Adios.